renderings for the Hadley School. I'm here joined by a new senior planner. I'm not sure if you have had the opportunity to meet Krista Magaha. She's a senior planner. And Dixon Mallory is here from the development company who will share the renderings for the Hadley Hotel. We're very excited to see them today. The format, how we would like to run the meeting this evening is that Dixon will present, we'll go over the presentation, and then maybe he can hold on to your questions until he finishes, and then we'll be able to address any questions or comments that you might have.
Great. Thank you, Marzi. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm sure there's a lot of anticipation about what we've been cooking up here, but hopefully what you see in front of you doesn't look a whole lot different than what's there today. So obviously this is the rendering. The left is a photograph from a few years ago, and the right is a rendering of essentially the view you'll see as you turn onto Reddington Street, coming up to what will be the Delamar Swampscott. So the main changes on the exterior here, and they're kind of...
Dixon, I think your microphone, just pull it forward a bit, sorry.
Is that better? Is that better?
Oh.
Is that on? Okay. Well, you'll see the biggest change on the exterior is the installation of kind of more original and new windows versus the kind of clad, paneled, black framed windows that were put on at some point. The windows that you'll see in the rendering on the right are much more in line with what was originally contemplated when the school was originally built back in 1910, 1911. Otherwise, the main aesthetic difference you'll see is on the top of the building here. You'll see a little kind of parapet turret. That is the extension of the stairwell that runs right up the middle of the building, because we will be adding a roof deck amenity space to the roof in order to have two forms of stair egress. Extending that stairwell to the top of the building made logical sense. So, works. Oh, pretty sensitive. There we go. So this is a shot facing directly at the main building, and here you'll see really the only new exterior construction is the installation of what's going to be an elevator tower with a stairwell, and that'll have two elevators. Neither of the building, the main building or the annex, currently have any elevators, so this solves both of those problems being able to put it right in between the two buildings. And of course that'll provide ADA access to both the main building and the annex. And again, there'll be a stairwell on that new construction as well that runs from the basement all the way up to the roof. Otherwise, this monument sign is kind of just there as a placeholder. That's not by any means what's the... just get some feedback there. The monument sign is not finalized, and that might very well change. But otherwise, the exterior does not change a whole lot. This was fun. This was an original rendering that was drawn before it was even contemplated as the Hadley School. You'll see at the top right, it's the Reddington Elementary Swampscott. Doesn't even say school. But you can see the windows there that are contemplated are much more in line with what we are proposing. This is a shot looking directly kind of from the water, if you will. And here is where we're going to contemplate having our restaurant down here on the corner. So you'll make the turn in onto Redding Street. This will be kind of the pub bar area. And this is where we'll have more of the a la carte dining with outdoor dining kind of wrapping around, overlooking Linscott Park and down to the water. This rendering is not totally accurate. We might have to bring this up kind of more towards the door entry there just to allow for a bit more parking. But fundamentally, you see all the outdoor dining area will be focused looking onto the park and down to the water. And this will be a dedicated entrance for the restaurant. Is this mic not working?
It's working, but then we're hearing an echo.
Oh, okay.
We're hearing the volume
Yeah.
of the computer, maybe? Just for the people at home.
Test.
Oh. No.
Nope.
You want this one? This one works. This one works if you want it.
Is this any better? Oh, that sounds better. There we are. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is just another kind of close-up shot of that new stair tower. We have it in a dark brick now. That's by no means final, but that just really shows the stark contrast of the two other buildings remaining intact largely, and that elevator tower connecting both the main building and the annex. And that's just a backside of that elevator tower. And what you'll see here, that's obviously just a massing. That's where the bathrooms for the rooftop amenity will be, kind of located on the backside of the building, because right now there's and there will be trees that kind of line the property line between the school and the park. So when those trees are in full bloom, you really won't even see much of this. That'll all be hidden by leaves. Ugh. God, this is,
1 minute. We're just having some issues online, if you can just bear with us. Some of the residents who are at home are watching us, are not able to hear it, so just give us 1 minute. We're just testing. Can anybody online please let us know if you can hear us?
Hey, Marcy, this is John. I can hear you now.
Thank you, John.
we can hear you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You can have a guy at home, doesn't know who I am.
Yeah, can we go back where we lost you guys, which was like 2 slides ago, right? 2 slides ago. Thanks.
Is that John Jen? Sounds like.
So again, this is just the rendering of what will be the new elevator tower that will provide connectivity between the main building and the annex. Entry will be down here, and again, this is the ADA access point for both buildings. And there'll be a stair tower on the backside of this new construction. And again, that's just an image of the backside of the new stair tower. You can actually see the stairwell running through those windows. Okay, so moving on, this is the site plan of the property. This really shows the entire property, as it were. You'll see the vast majority of the land that we have to work with is going to end up being parking, because parking is limited in town, as everyone knows. So we need to maximize as much parking as we can on site. And this is what I referenced earlier with the rendering outside of the restaurant. We might need to take away some of this dining terrace area and dedicate that to more parking. But again, this is really the nicest view of the outdoor area that looks down to the water and obviously onto the park. But otherwise, there's not a whole lot of land we have to work with. Again, this is the stair tower connection. Circulation will run through the majority of the parking lot back here, with pickup and drop off for the kitchen, dumpster, trash removal back here, which is kind of the back of house of the property. This is where we'll have kind of pick up and drop off for the restaurant, back of house. food deliveries and whatnot. Swampscott Park is here. And then the water is kind of down here. And then Reddington Street runs this way. All right. Test. Yeah, but it doesn't.
Now, that turns off the audio at home for residents who are watching at home, correct?
Sorry?
If Krista just turned off the volume, the mic on the TV, that's the one that controls the sound at home for residents at home? I just want to make sure that we don't mute anybody.
No, that shouldn't affect the, no, it's go through the mics. That TV should not affect it at all.
Okay, good. So hopefully that will help with the sound in here. Sorry.
All good? So this is the basement level of both the main building and the annex. The basement, as I mentioned, will be kind of right where as you drive in onto Reddington Street, you'll see what we're contemplating as kind of the bar, casual dining area, and this will be the dining room. And again, this outdoor dining area might have to go away to create for more parking, but fundamentally, this will be the restaurant space of the property. Here's some bathrooms to service the restaurant. All of this back here ends up becoming kitchen, office, storage, back of house. So that will not be guest-facing space. And again, as I mentioned, the site plan, this will be the pickup and drop-off for food deliveries. Again, the exact programming of where these bathrooms go, where an office is all to be determined, but that's all dedicated back of house. So none of you will hopefully see that. So again, this is the pickup and drop-off lane that runs along the front of the building. Here is the entryway into the elevator tower. Down here is what we're allocating for a spa, and that'll be, of course, open to the public, and actually do have some steps that from the entrance that run down into that space, so it'll have its own dedicated entrance. Next here, which I think was one of the old cafeteria rooms, that becomes the fitness center for the property. And then in the annex, these rooms all become, the annex is entirely hotel rooms. There's no real public-facing space in the annex. It'll all be guest rooms. And then this is the sub-basement. For those of you that have been into the engine room of the building, that all becomes storage. That's kind of the sub-basement that's even below grade. Ah. Okay, moving up to the first floor. You can see here, just to orient everyone, all of these are just kind of the original classrooms, these squares, rectangles. And all of them flank each corner of the main building. They're all roughly 800 square feet, give or take. And a hotel room in our world, if it ends up being 350, 300 to 400 square feet, that's a really nice size hotel room. So you think about an 800 square foot room, you put a demising wall right down the middle. Each of these rooms has two very large windows, and ceiling heights are about 11 feet in the classrooms. It divides up actually quite nicely. And you can see it's just a common corridor right down the back side of the classroom, and then an entryway into each of these rooms. And again, all of these classrooms in the main building are more or less identical. And again, here we're showing the exact layout of the furniture layouts, where the bathrooms go, that'll all be refined. That'll be dictated largely by how we route the building with plumbing. But you'll see the rooms are all a pretty good size. They vary from 320 up to 400 feet. And that's no problem in our world. And right here, so this will be kind of the entrance up into the lobby. So you'll walk up the stairs, and what is now the principal's office and the nurse's office, that's your lobby, common area, check-in, front desk. That's really the welcome to the property moment. Again, very high ceilings, really high ceilings actually on the first floor. I think they're probably about 15 feet. And then, we need to put a ballroom somewhere, but there's already a ballroom here with the gymnasium. So we're not going to be retrofitting that into anything else. We're, of course, going to be improving it, cleaning it up, restoring it, and utilizing that as our function room, ballroom for, you name the event. We're going to keep the stage. No reason to really get rid of that stage at all. And the view out onto Linscott Park through these windows, which are currently kind of glazed over and partially boarded up, with new windows overlooking the park, there'll be a tremendous amount of natural light, not to mention a great view looking out onto the park. So that space, forget it, that's like 30-foot ceilings. That becomes a really kind of impactful, powerful space. And this layout shows 8 top rounds, I think, for 120 people. Being in that room, that feels a little ambitious, but anyway, that's what the architect laid it out for. So figure like 100 to 120 people for events in that ballroom space. And there is an air wall that's currently there that kind of divides the room into kind of like a 70-30. So if we want to put in a new air wall there to be able to accommodate smaller groups, if you're only having an event for 20 people and you don't want to feel like you're swimming in a big ballroom, we could naturally divide it up into two distinct rooms. And I guess the only mechanical addition, we probably will have a little lift somewhere here or over there that goes down to the kitchen to run up food for the events. And again, the annex, that all just becomes bedrooms.
I have a question. Is the main entrance where that new addition is?
There's going to be two entrances. This will be the natural entrance, but this will be again, kind of the elevator. If you have heavy luggage, we'll just bring you in through here, where you walk up those steps.
So you have to boogie from the elevator to make it accessible? You gotta go to the elevator there and boogie around with the front desk over here?
Right over here, just kind of through that corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Is there any way, because we don't have any function rooms
Mhm.
that are wheelchair accessible? We have none, zero. Is there any way that we could utilize that ballroom for first priority Swampscott residents?
I mean, that will have to.
I mean, is that, can you do something like that? Because like I said, we don't have any kind, and it's a lovely place in Scott Park for a wedding or anything like that, and we do not, I want to make the Hawthorne a destination spot, because, I mean, 100 people at a wedding is not very many people at a function room. So I want to make the Hawthorne Hotel a destination, a function place, which would be magnificent, which would be a feather in your cap. It would be helpful.
We're trying to do our best to kind of maintain the existing space as is without manipulating it. I mean, the room is there, so we're going to try and work around it. 100-person event, I agree with you, is not massive, but in the context of what's going to be 55 to 57 hotel rooms, depending on how many suites versus normal rooms we have, it works for the property.
But have you ever done it so that you can have first priority for Swampscott?
We have not discussed that in our negotiations with the town, but certainly we'll be turning.
I live on Reddington. I've been in my house for 60 years, a little bit more than Esther.
Let's finish the presentation, and we'll go back to questions.
Yeah.
So moving up to the third floor, again, this is all just hotel rooms. At this point, we're kind of above the annex, so we have mechanicals and solar panels on the roof of the annex building. The main difference on this floor is these 3 rooms that look out onto Scott Park. They are directly above the gymnasium, and they actually have 3 natural terraces. Those are already there. Of course, they're not terraces currently, but it's a roof. So putting pavers down off of those rooms, you'll have 3 very nice sized terraces overlooking the park. So that's pretty nice. Otherwise, again, classroom layouts are all the same. These rooms that kind of face Reddington Street, those will all get divided up into rooms varying in size from 290 to 390 square feet. And then last but not least is this is the rooftop amenity space for the main building. So you'll see the elevators run all the way up to the roof. Here are those bathrooms that I pointed out earlier. Those are kind of in the back corner of the space. And the rooftop is almost too big for a 57-room hotel. So we've really kind of focused our energy on really programming. And again, this just shows you sample layouts of if we have seating areas, dining tables, what have you. But it'll be very flexible space. It's around 4,000 feet. And so that'll be seasonal, rooftop space in the summertime. Could be rented out for private events. When it's not being used for private events, it could be used as a hotel amenity for guests. And yeah, again, if we had kind of put pavers down on the entire roof, it would be almost too big. So 4,000 feet is more than enough space for a 57-room hotel to have guest access for what's going to be a pretty spectacular view from the rooftop of the Hadley School, Delamar Swampscott. And I think there's no more floors above that. Did we skip the second floor? Sorry. Let me see. Oh, yeah. We did. Thank you. Again, more or less the same story. This is all the gymnasium. So there's no access there. But the room layouts, again, are all more or less the same throughout the main building and the annex. This is that mezzanine seating area that we're going to be, and we thought about putting a room there, but one, it's kind of 4 distinct, probably more, levels that are poured concrete. And if you had one room, it would be a very long, awkward room with only one window on the back side, and that window is actually not even that big because of the terrace nature of the room. So our plan right now is to just kind of keep the mezzanine, probably keep a lot of those chairs that are in there, and that way that we can kind of hold kind of events in the gymnasium, in the ballroom. So if we want to have like a magician or a stand-up comedian, you could have those kind of nights that would be, of course, open to the public. You could have seating up top on the mezzanine, and then put chairs down on the floor of the gymnasium for events, on non-busy nights if it's not being rented out. So that'll be kind of fun. Of course, you could do kind of prefix dinner menus in the restaurant and sell tickets in conjunction with that. So it could be a fun little kind of program to sell packages like that. So again, the mezzanine, we thought about cutting it up. We might have to remove a few rows of seating, but keeping them there, it kind of works. So thank you for pointing out the second floor. That was and now we are done. So happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Great. Mike, would you mind just checking one of the mics?
Hi, Mike Bryson, and I live right next door to the play yard. So a number of people in the neighborhood are concerned about the parking lot. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are regarding lighting of the parking lot, hardscape, landscape around the parking lot, and the traffic pattern in there. I know you mentioned trucks would go in to make deliveries to the kitchen. Was that also for the trash and garbage pickup, or where would that be?
Back to the site plan. Sorry. Well, actually, it was right there. But yeah, so the food drop-off and trash will be in this back corner, with the idea being that service trucks can enter, probably here, and work their way and back in to do pickup and drop-offs of trash, food, packages, whatever,
And
on that backside.
so just to the right of your picture is where our yard is.
Mm-hmm.
And our house faces the school, faces the parking lot. What are your plans for, like I said, the landscaping, the hardscaping, lights I'm really concerned
Yep.
with?
In terms of lighting, we'd be happy to get your input in, first of all, but kind of low impact, kind of down lighting, enough for safety, maybe even kind of at the ground level for walking, because there will be, some paths here to walk around the property. In terms of landscaping, again, there's not a lot of opportunity, but where we do have the opportunity to do some landscaping, we'll be using native planting, nothing too intrusive. We want to blend in as much as possible.
Will there be a wall around it?
I wouldn't say a wall. I think we will have to level out some of this because it does start to slope up a bit as it gets towards your property. So, having like a stone retaining wall here that doesn't go above, it's not going to block your view. It'll just kind of level it out. And then as it gets up to the property line.
But will it block headlights into my living room?
If it... We'll have to look at that, and happy to talk with you as we go through the process. But how high that retaining wall is, we could make it higher. If you do want to have it blocked, or if there's a fence or shrubbery that really blocks it.
As you go along, I'd love to talk
Yeah.
about it. And I think there's some dark sky initiative that the town is part of. Can you explain that, and what does that do as far as the lighting up above?
There really won't be a significant amount of lighting, exterior lighting, beyond some modest lighting for the outdoor dining area. Will we have a lit entrance to some degree at the front of the building where the pickup and drop-off is? Yeah, absolutely.
In the parking lot?
Yeah, for safety code, you will need a certain amount of lighting in the parking lot. But again, it's not going to be strobe lights. It'll be modest and as discreet as possible, but of course keeping access and safety in mind.
Okay. And I had one other question. The space on the roof on the left side of the property.
On this part, yeah.
Was that going to be a restaurant bar or anything like that? It's just
No.
lounge area?
Lounge area. If you want to have a cocktail party up there, we have a service bar, but it won't be a dedicated bar space.
There won't loud music, anything like that?
I'm sure the town has a noise ordinance, and again, we're not going to run that well into the night.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be more private parties that won't be really open to the public. Let me put it that way. If you're a hotel guest, you can use the outdoor the amenity deck, and if it's rented out for some sort of function, it'll be used for that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
A couple questions online, and then we'll get you tomorrow night. So there's a question in regards to, thank you. There's a question about HVAC equipment, and will that be on the roof? Will that be located on the roof, and what kind of noise can residents expect?
Yeah. So that portion of the roof that is not being used as the amenity space, a lot of that will be, some of that will be mechanicals. And again, on the roof of the annex building, we showed mechanicals and solar panels where possible. In terms of the noise, I can get the exact rating of the noise of the heat pumps system that we're contemplating, which is electric. But I don't have a definitive answer on the noise levels that those will generate.
Hi, Mara Lau. So a couple of questions, Dixon. The stone wall that's existing that abuts Linscott Park, is it in your plan to remove that and kind of take over that section, or are you planning to, leave the stone wall or enhance it in some way?
As far as I know, we can't touch the wall.
Great. Sorry. And then just sort of a logistic question. So there is a path that goes from Elmwood, that the kids would take to get to school.
Right
and
here.
then there's
Yep.
exactly, right? So that is an easement. That is, a public way with a very steep decline. It would be fantastic if you could figure out a way in which that could still be used as a passageway to get over to Reddington and then down to Humphrey Street, because as much of the space that you're taking over at this point, so much of Hadley is used as a cut through, and people want to be able to get over to the other side and use all of our amenities on Humphrey Street. So how can you make that happen for us without keeping in mind downlighting and some greens and such in that parking zone?
We haven't really thought about that too much. My only concern would be, if we do have, what kind of traffic, how busy does that get? I'm
Well, if people are getting out to Humphrey Street, and at the moment, people go by the dumpsters.
Yeah.
They're at the swings or they're at the gazebo area, kids are running around, and then they go through the dumpsters. But that's not going to be the case anymore, because that's going to be fenced off, the public will lose access. So trying to find some compromise, I think that seems like a natural place that we could try to find some kind of a way through. And there's also an opening in the stone wall there, too. So a conversation could be had. We could kind of create a passageway for
would this be kind of
over.
a walkway? Because that entrance is right about here, roughly, right?
It is, but it also turns.
Yeah.
So it would be something I would appreciate a commitment to exploring, please.
Okay. Yeah. Happy to.
And then a community space, it was voted in at town meeting, so where in the plans is that? I'd like you to address that, and thank you for keeping the terrazzo. I hope you really do keep it.
In the hallways?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
In terms of the public spaces, obviously the restaurant is open to the public. The spa is open to the public. Depending on the layout of the hotel lobby, whether we have room for kind of to be a meeting space where we have a few tables, coffee machine where people can come meet. We have that in our other properties, and that happens all the time. That's really more a matter of space planning. And then, as I mentioned, the gymnasium, ballroom will, of course, be open to the public, if it's going to be rented out. So that'll be a public space.
Right, if you're staying there. But there's a dedicated community space. That was part of the original.
Well, the restaurant.
The RFP, I realize, but it has been, my understanding is it's been addressed.
Well, yes. Again, the restaurant is a community space. The lobby can be a community space. Depends on what your definition of the community space is, but.
That's not quite what was, that is not what was decided at town meeting. So unfortunately, you didn't know that at the RFP, and you should have. So I think that needs to be, drilled down a bit
Worked
more
into it.
tightly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
John Gigantis, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. So just for the folks doing the presentation, I'm here with my wife, Siobhan. We live directly across the street in the blue house. So obviously we have an interest. Looking at the slide that's up right now online, I'm sorry, it was just, we heard the trash is here, the delivery drop-offs are here. I'm not sure where here is. I'm looking at the screen now, but where exactly is the trash going to be kept? It just, if you can maybe better describe it, where it's going to be?
Can you see my mouse?
I can now, yes.
All right, so it's right about here.
So it's on the Linscott?
So it's on the Linscott side?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And deliveries will be over there also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a couple other questions. One was, we had heard a while back I guess it was the town meeting where this was approved. I think a few things came up from the neighbors. One was rat and pest control. Is there remediation plan for that once construction starts?
For rat and pest control?
Correct. Like during the ongoing construction, is there going to be enhanced pest control so the neighborhood's not overrun with rats, mice, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that will be contemplated by any general contractor who's undertaking this work, including obviously the remediation.
We need more than contemplation.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, so we wanted to make that point. Another one was around, again, I think it came up during the same discussion as the pest control was the neighbors along Reddington Street that face Hadley definitely do not want construction vehicles parking in front of their house. So on the side of Reddington in front of their house, again, yeah, all our sewer pipes, all for the houses come out there, and we just don't want heavy trucks parking there
because we know
for an indefinite period of time. Yeah, right now they're in good shape. So, but again, we just wanted to put that out there as well. Yeah,
very much understood. And the good news is this isn't kind of a hotel in a city where there's nowhere to park. During construction, you can a lot of this will be dedicated for construction setup. So I can't see any reason why Reddington Street will, unless there's work that needs to be done on the sidewalk to improve it. But you can just kind of envision it.
That sounds good. I think what would be helpful is if that representation could also be passed along to the general contractor, who could then pass it along to his subcontractors. That's the understanding.
Because we've had a lot of construction around us, and they continually try to park heavy trucks.
I'm not sure if you were able to hear that, were you?
Yeah, I did. I think the abundance of space over here, and even on this side of the property, there's more than enough room once there's no one parking there for setup and general conditions and contracting.
Okay, and the gentleman that was who was actually behind the Hadley, who was asking about the lighting and the parking. I remember during the presentations that there were going to be, at least it was proposed, there was going to be some sort of trees along Reddington in front of the hotel and also in front of the parking lot to minimize light coming across the street to the neighbors. Is that, looking at the presentation, there were no trees, but is that something that's still contemplated?
Currently, there are very few trees actually on the property. The majority of which are kind of right here along the Reddington. Oh, you can't see me. Sorry. So there's a number of trees that line the Reddington frontage. Other than that, the trees that are on the Linscott Park side are actually on the park. So those, we can't touch those. And then the playground, what will be the parking lot, again, we're happy to work with the neighbors on how they want to see that planted, walled, and lit.
Yeah, and again, this I understand that the folks on the other side have kind of a different issue than the folks on, yeah, they have the berm, so I'm thinking more like us and our neighbors where, I think that would have to be a separate conversation about what would make sense for plantings on our side, just again, to minimize light disruption, that sort of thing, headlights coming into our living room, things like that. Okay, got another question for you. You've been very patient. When is all this supposed to start? When's the construction contemplating to start?
So as the current timeline is, if we get all of our ducks in a row, for lack of a better word, we will be starting construction roughly 13 months from now.
Oh,
Okay.
so they're planning October.
Okay. All right. And can I ask just another clarifying question? Going back to the lounge area on the roof that you were describing, I guess my recollection was that this has kind of gone back and forth. First, I heard, yep, there's going to be event space up there on the roof. Then, nope, we're not going to do anything on the roof. It's just structurally it can't be done. Now it seems like it's back on again. So, is this just like a more limited version of what we originally heard, or I'm just wondering how it evolved into what it is now?
Yeah, we had thought about putting like another floor on top of the roof, but that was going to be, again, supporting the structure for that would be, just far too much. And frankly, how much more use would we get out of it in the dead of winter, to be determined. So we decided just to having a very seasonal, limited scope amenity deck on the roof was the best course of action.
Okay.
Hi, Lori Lebin. I was on the Hadley Reuse Committee and another abutter. First I want to say the windows are fabulous. I'm so excited to see something closer to the historic building put back in, so that's wonderful. As Maura mentioned, one thing we talked about on the Hadley Committee, and I understand this is quite different than what we originally proposed, but we did talk about connection between Reddington Street and Monument and maybe cutting through that. Actually, that isn't a bad idea, right along the edge of your property. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that could work, but we did talk about creating some openness and connection in the neighborhood. Granted, this is a different design than what we came up with, but that's something that maybe would be worth looking at, along the rear of or the side of the property and then back to the rear. Is there a way to make a connection? Because it's heavily foot trafficked now. Reddington is a very busy street with foot traffic coming up and down, and people do cut over to go to the farmer's market or maybe a craft fair, things like that. So it's a nice to have. Mm-hmm. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a matter of kind of making this a bit bigger as more of a walking path, or to have that access.
Yeah, I think that could be really nice to open that up. If we could take a look at the elevations of the connector between the two buildings, especially the one from the rear of the building, I just had a couple of questions about that.
Oop.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sorry, this mouse is very sensitive.
Yep, either one of those works. So the restrooms are in the white, correct, to the right of the tower. And then what is the glassy area at the very top of the connector piece?
This is just the roof of the top floor of the elevator drop-off.
Okay.
Now, whether that ends up being glass or another material or surface.
I actually, I think it'd be nice to see that as a much more contemporary expression between the two buildings. I think now it's kind of bridging the gap, not one or the other. It's not historic, it's not really ultra contemporary, but it might be nice to either make it a little more glassy. The windows don't necessarily have to match the original building. Mm-hmm. That's just a thought I had, that maybe a little more open and glassy looking there. Again, for that connectivity.
This really just shows kind of the massing of what size that new construction
maybe that
has to
could
be.
Made a little more contemporary there, I think. So we are, a little unfortunately, right across the street from the parking lot. Now we have, a park and a playground. So we want to be part of that conversation. Is there a fence that might block the view of the cars, or evergreens, something.
Yeah, putting a,
arborvitae.
a hedging along the parking lot to minimize light pollution into.
Yeah, it's more the visual of the cars. I know the new lighting systems are great. You don't get the uplighting like you used to, and it's more concentrated where you need it. So I'm not so worried about that. It's more sitting in my living room looking out at cars versus a fence or some kind of planting.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
How many parking spaces will be there?
In that plan we were looking at, it's 63.
63. So the public will not be able to park there, I'm assuming?
It's very tight on parking as is. Again, could we get a few more spots towards the outdoor dining area? Maybe, but as you saw on the site plan, there's not a lot of additional space for parking.
Hi, Jonathan Lehman, Historical Commission. We met a couple of years ago when I did the walkthrough the same day you had a historic photographer in there. And so I was really glad to hear that you're planning on keeping some of those steam bent plywood theater chairs that...
and the mezzanine floor?
Yeah, that was good news. And the stage as well. I had a question about the stage. After I photographed the bas relief on the proscenium, there's one on either side. I happened to be in Venice right after that, and it's the same type of artwork that's in a lot of churches and museums in Italy. So I met with an art historian in one of the museums, and she looked at the photographs and confirmed that it is the work of an Italian artisan. So I wondered, I couldn't tell from the diagrams whether you're planning on leaving those there. It looked like a very modern interpretation, so I wasn't sure about if you're going to leave them or remove them.
So all the detailing in the gymnasium ballroom is going to remain. I mean, are we going to clean it up and make it look prettier? Probably try and bring it back to how it originally looked. Yes, absolutely. We're not going to be removing any of the the existing detail molding. Yeah,
that's good news because those are quite distinctive.
Expensive, it sounds like. Yeah.
Well, they're just. It's very nice that someone, I'm guessing, donated their time, and it's the same type of artwork that you see throughout Italy, and it would have been done right around the time of a huge immigration. So
I mean it's a beautiful room as is. Cleaning it up and restoring it to its former glory is the design directive there.
Did you have any luck with historic grants for preservation of any of the stuff there?
Yeah, so we did receive our Part 1 approval from the state and federal agencies that govern the historic tax credits, and essentially this plan qualifies because we are, again, the exterior of the buildings, both buildings, essentially remain the same. Of course, you have to add ADA access and elevators, so the new construction for the elevator tower was fine.
This is all great news. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary DiCillo, and
Mary.
I'm very happy that you're here, and I'm glad that you were chosen. Out of all the designs, you were the most respectful of the preservation and of the Olmsted District, and having worked on that, it was myself. It's important to me. I am here as an emissary for my husband, who is trying to unload boxes at our new house. So he would like to, and I would too, ask about a playground. We currently have a playground that is used a lot at Hadley, and it's really important to this neighborhood to have a playground because it is so central, and lots of the tie-in to all the events that happen at Linsart Park. There's currently the swing sets that are there. I don't know what the restrictions are in terms of the covenant in Linscott Park and the use of that. So I don't know technically, but there are a lot of wonderful designs that could be made. It's where now the parking lot's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the demographic is changing, at least in the downtown area of Swampscott, and Swampscott as a whole. A lot of young families are moving here with young children, and this part of the town, you know, like I said, there's a lot of events that happen. The recreation department has been flourishing with events. So I don't know if there would be a subcommittee, maybe the recreation department.
Mary, I'm happy to respond if you don't mind, Dixon. So the town is working with the Swampscott Open Space and Recreation Committee. We're also working with the Swampscott Conservation and the Conservancy to see about relocating the play equipment potentially to Linscott Park.
And could I just add, I think that play equipment now is about 20-something years old. There's some really other stuff, and I think in terms of mitigation, you know, giving the town back, it would be a wonderful way for the company to a good faith effort, and to actually not just replace, not to salvage, and reuse, but to look at what other things are out there as well. So thank you.
Yeah. Charlie, go ahead.
Hi, Charlie Patsios. My questions are going to be very different. By the way, I'm not a shill for this, even though it might sound like that. I was actually opposed to the hotel. So what can keep you from doing this? If you don't get your grant money, does that prohibit you from moving ahead? 13 months from the amount of planning that you've done here, given a year and previously, maybe more. Seems to me like there's a lot of time that's already been spent. So 13 months from now, to put a shovel in the ground tells me that finances are important and they're not locked down. Would I be on track with that?
I wouldn't say so, no. I mean, from the time that we've, you know, when the clock started, I mean, getting our, you know, construction drawings, that can take, you know, almost 6 months just to have those ready. And then by that time, we need to go in front of the historic tax credit agencies and make sure that the ultimate construction documents are approved. And that'll take, you know, more time. And all along, you know, we're working to make sure the plans are buildable and financeable. So. Okay.
I mean, I'm very familiar with historical tax credits. I deal with them. The other thing to support you, a lot of people are talking about common space or community space. I don't know if anybody really thinks about it, but I wouldn't expect to walk into a hotel where guests are paying to stay and want to go in and use community space while they're paying to be there. I think that's crazy. And if we, we want to make money from this. No one's talking about the revenue that the town needs to be able to sustain everything that from DPW and recreation and operations and water and sewer and everything. We want you to be profitable. And so I look at anything that can inhibit that we have control over as a town. I don't want you to die by 1,000 paper cuts because we're ignorant, and I use the word correctly, to what makes your hotel successful. So I want you to be successful. What do you need from the town that you haven't gotten yet that would make you maybe go a little faster or have a little more confidence in this? Because tax credits to me are the icing on the cake, but that's not how I underwrite deals. And I have a feeling, and I might be wrong, but this is an iffy deal. And I don't want it to be iffy. I want it to be successful. What can the town do to support you, to get you a little more comfortable?
At this point, I don't really think anything. I mean, we have, again, our plans, for those of you that saw the RFP plans, they were more or less this. You know, we haven't really changed our view on it, you know, that much. You know, if the town had said you can do 150 hotel rooms, then it would probably be a different story. But being a 60 key limit in the zone, we think that's fine, by the way, especially in the context of the restaurant and the ballroom. I mean, you saw the rooms kind of lay out pretty nicely. It's not like we have 60 rooms that are, you know, all 150 square feet. lays out pretty nicely. So we think our original plan still works. This is a more refined version of that, and we'll continue to refine it. It just takes time and processes, and in terms of being helpful, the town, Marzi, and the select board have been very responsive and helpful all along the way.
I haven't looked at the financial deal, and I think that's a discussion for maybe another time. But I would say this to everyone that has concerns about lighting or aesthetics or anything like that. I don't think anyone's going to be spending the amount of money that is going to be spent on a building like this, and they're going to leave aesthetics in doubt. I just don't believe that. The idea of cut-throughs and things of that nature, as a town, we have to really think about what it is that we're sending as a message to you. Because here we are turning a building over to you, telling you to run it like a hotel, and then we tell you we want a pass-through. And we want a playground, and Mary, don't take this the wrong way, but we want a playground. We have a park next door, and I think that's, Marzi, to your credit. There were several houses there that the town bought, I think in the 60s, that were knocked down, and those were private residences. That's where the park would belong. I wouldn't belabor your deal on small things that is like, we don't want to kill these people with 1,000 paper cuts.
That's right.
And that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think that you're going to let rats run around. I don't think that you're going to light the sky. But you kind of, if you can address those with the neighbors up front, you won't, because if it were me, I would imagine the worst case scenario. And that means that you haven't addressed it with them. So they have legitimate concerns. But I don't think that you leave that. But sometimes not answering it up front can create that, you're wondering.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be abrasive, but I want to be helpful. But at the same time, we want you to pay us a lot of money. And the only way we're going to get a lot of money is if you're really successful. And I just want to be that as honest as I can. We want your money.
Yeah, but I mean, things like a walking path through what'll be the parking lot, I don't view that as kind of a big deal. I mean, we have a boardwalk in front of one of our properties that is right along the water, and that's it's our property, but it's a public easement, so the public can walk right along the water. It's quite nice, and people, of course, take advantage of it. Does it?
It would be great if you showed it in your plan.
Not this property. We don't have no waterfront here. No, we're not technically waterfront. Water viewing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Robert Shire. I live on Blaney Street. I wanted to follow up on the concern about the rats during the construction period. You had said something relating to that would be the contractor's responsibility, but I didn't catch your full answer on that.
When you undertake any project, it has to be, especially with an old building, there's going to be a remediation plan involved, and that is remediation of hazardous building materials and rodents, and that'll just be part of the staging and planning during the demolition phase. Which, again, there's not a huge amount of demolition. We're really putting up more walls than we are, removing walls.
And that remediation is the responsibility of the general contractor. Who would we hold
it would be
responsible
us, the developer,
if there were issues?
Yeah.
Good. And just one other follow-up question. Do I understand that you do have the financing in place for the project right now, assured?
No, it's not assured. Once we kind of get farther along with our construction drawings, at that point, you're able to get a general contractor, construction manager to go out and give you, real bids on the cost of construction, and that's what you bring to a bank to get financing and investors.
So you would get financing at that point with the actual contracts.
We're having conversations with lenders and investors, all the time, but we'll really get firm commitments once we have a real idea of what it's going to cost.
Understood. Thank you.
Hi, Norman Ehrlich. I just have a couple questions. You indicated that it would be 13 months from now before a shovel will be put in the ground. Can you explain for us here that are not involved in construction the timeline and what is to be done during that 13-month period? And secondly, once you get your permits and whatever, and that 13-month period has gone by and you're now starting to do construction, how long will the construction take?
To answer your first question, what's going on right now? We're
During the 13-month.
Yeah, we're advancing our construction drawings. When those are the final set of construction document drawings, it's like a 200-page. It's a full, huge packet. And at that point, you bring those to your builders, and they start bidding out the project. Again, in unison with that, we start really trying to button down our financing if the numbers are coming in as we think they have. And by the way, we have preliminary bids on this construction, very high level, but if they're somewhat in the ballpark, the deal works, of course, or else I wouldn't be standing here. And then in terms of construction length, probably anywhere from 18 months to 2 years. Again, working within the context of an old building and a retrofit, it sounds like it should be easier, but oftentimes it's not. If you're building, new construction on a flat piece of property and going, straight up, it can go pretty quick. But there is a lot of nuanced construction in this building. Working within, the classrooms and just staging all of that construction does take time.
It's basically a 3-year project from now, from starting today, getting your drawings done, getting your financing, starting construction, to when the hotel opens.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask, how large is the restaurant going to be as far as how many
Seats?
seats?
Again, it's really 2 of those kind of classroom pods, even though one of them is currently the mechanical room. I think we have, it's roughly 80 seats between the bar and the dining room, and then in the outdoor dining area will be, more in season.
Okay. Another question I had is, you said there were about 60-yard parking spaces. Now, if you have a function in the dining room, your restaurant is open, and you have all your employees, what do you do with the excess parking? Because 60 won't handle between the dining room, the restaurant, and all your employees. So what's going to happen with the overflow?
So we've been working with the town on, ways that we can find, some parking. And a lot of that can be solved. I shouldn't say a lot, but when there is a big event, you can have valet parking. We have valet parking under any circumstances, but being able to double park on the backside of that lot during busy events, certainly does help solve some of that. But parking is an issue. It's an issue everywhere. So we just have to work, with the town to do the best we can to mitigate it as much as possible.
Yeah, is the construction going to require any heavy equipment or excavating?
The only excavating is really going to be, digging out for that foundation.
So that would mitigate the rodents a little bit.
Sorry?
That would mitigate the rodent issue a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, digging out the foundation for the stair tower, elevator tower, is the only new exterior construction, really.
Or the heat pump system.
The condensers?
That's up on the roof plan?
Yeah.
I got it. Thanks. That could be a noise concern. I'm sure you'll do what you can with sound attenuation.
Yeah.
But are they screened?
Yes, so some of the mechanicals for the annex building will be just on the roof there.
On that roof?
Exactly, just for the annex. And then for the main building, they'll either be kind of in this area or somewhere in here.
Okay, so for the annex, is a screen planned for attenuation?
Yeah, we'll have a screen plan. There actually is a little turret up there on the roof of the annex as is. So kind of putting them around that little turret would probably make the most logical sense.
Okay. And on the site plan, I just had a quick question. There's only one way out, it looks like, of every car that there's 2 curb cuts. You pull in the first one, and then...
Can you speak into that mic?
Yeah, the curb cut. Yeah, just getting on and off the site.
Sorry.
It looks like there's only one way out. So every Uber, every Lyft, every car leaving the parking lot's got to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess a shortcut for the, well, that's putting the lights in someone else's house. Those headlights are coming right toward us, so.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
If the cars are actually turning in this way.
And when they're coming out at
and
night.
then going out that way.
Okay, when they're coming out at night, there's only one way out though, right? That one right there on the right.
On the left.
Yeah.
Are you going to be limited to just 2-axle trucks going in and out of there for dumpsters and for food?
Most likely, yeah.
And Dixon, we had 2 more questions online about the roof, if you're there. And one was in regards to any type of plantings that you plan to have, or?
On the roof?
Yes.
We don't have a full planting, layout yet. This area, kind of the walkway from the elevators to the bulk portion of the amenity area. Will that, if there's mechanicals, on this roof, yeah, absolutely, there will be some sort of, hedging or fencing so you don't just see it to block it out. But, yeah, that'll be screened in some fashion.
Okay. And the other question is whether or not you plan at some point to enclose the roof deck.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Will we have, umbrellas up here, maybe like a pergola for seasonal sun coverage? Yeah, but not, nothing permanent.
Okay.
Nothing enclosed.
You had a question?
Hi, I'm Deb Newman, and I know a lot of people are concerned about lighting. We do have a zoning bylaw, I think, that has the dark sky specifications for people and for birds and wildlife. So unfortunately, we don't have a bylaw or a policy regarding bird collisions in windows. And there are lots of windows there, and I'm just hoping that you'll consider using bird-friendly windows which don't bother humans. You can see through them.
Mm-hmm.
And they prevent collisions, and there are 1 billion a year in just the United States. So, and it doesn't cost a lot for you to do that. Did you say you're going to have all new windows?
Yeah, all new windows.
Okay, because there is stuff to retrofit if you kept the windows. And I just, from what I could see, it looked as if the windows look kind of like French windows, like smaller paned on a lot of the building.
Yeah, so the new windows will be, first and foremost, a lot more efficient. They're not going to,
Right.
give, the heat transfer loss on these windows is significant.
Well, I just want you to know, I'm going to get your email later so I can send you some resources, but it actually helps. The bird-friendly windows are much better thermodynamically.
Well, that's where I was going with this, is the new windows that, that we'll be putting in, they might be, windows that would, I'm not aware of any windows that prevent bird collisions. How do they do that, out of curiosity?
It's within the window itself.
Is it like a film that?
Yes, and only the birds can see the dots and stuff on it, but humans cannot. So,
You had a question?
thank you.
A follow-up question on the roof deck. Will there be any sound equipment up there if, for example, someone wanted to have an event up there that involved dancing, loud music? Is that something that the hotel would allow, because that would have quite an impact on the surrounding neighborhood?
We would allow it as long as it conforms with the sound ordinance for the town.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan, do you have a mic?
Yep, no, it's not.
Oh, you go. Brian Watson.
Can you go back to the site plan, please? Yeah.
I know, sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you have dimensionally a lot of wiggle room between the building and the property line at Michael Bryson's house. You know, I see there's 2 bays of parking, so that's, 20.
Are you referring to here?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Between the school and that line. Yeah, so you have 20, 24, 20, then you have 20, 24, 20. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. Can you tell me the width of the 2 planting strips, the planting strip in the middle, and then the one that you said a walkway could go down?
The width of this?
Yes.
I'm not sure of the width of that. I could get it from our architect for you. I don't have that dimension.
Okay. It looks rather small if you're anticipating being able to plant trees on it that would grow to any significant height. Now, arborvitaes, of course, would work, but I think in terms of the impact the asphalt area makes on the microclimate, and the way people perceive it, we really need trees that would grow, that would be free to grow to a large height, a maple tree that could get to 80 or 90 feet or something like that. And same with against the retaining wall. Have you given thought to whether the trees have you given thought, I guess it's 2 questions. Have you given thought to the idea of trees that would mature to a fairly decent height, not arborvitaes? And then secondly, to do that, the trees, it seems to me, would have to be on the low side of the retaining wall, because if they can't be on the high side of the retaining wall because of the roots. So could you talk to us a little bit about your vision for the size of the trees and the availability in terms of width that they would be sitting in?
We haven't thought of that specifically. I mean, I think our plan would be to receive feedback from the neighbors and how they would, want that to, how they see it and how we can make work together. And I mean, if we're then putting in a walking path here, then does that mitigate the ability to plant trees?
Right. There's a conflict there. If you have a path and it's paved, then maybe you've eliminated the idea of trees, at least big species. I'm talking big species trees. So I think that's something that needs attention. Certainly, I guess it would be probably fair to claim that nobody would be opposed to large species trees in the middle of the parking lot. I got to believe that's a fairly desirable feature, because large species trees would then really shade the parking lot and soften the sun beating down on the asphalt.
Yeah.
So I guess my suggestion would be that's really an important thing to look at, and it's not hard to figure out because you just don't have any wiggle room. You could quickly see how many feet you would have to do that. But I think I keep emphasizing trees that can grow to 50, 60, 70 feet are worth doing. Arborvitaes, a row of arborvitaes, in my opinion, doesn't do anything. It shields the pedestrian from the parking lot, but beyond that, you've not softened the asphalt, the heat sink of the parking lot. Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly, Marcy, can you explain what the town's sound ordinance is?
Yes, we have a certain decibel in regards to the noise. Are you looking for the actual number or I'm not sure.
Just kind of in general, is there a time cutoff? Is there a decibel cutoff that us neighbors might not like?
Right. I think there's, in terms of quiet enjoyment, I would say that I'll take a look at it, give you all the numbers in regards to the time frame, but I imagine anything past, I think it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I don't remember if you... Yeah, so it's definitely nothing past, definitely not past midnight, but just up to 10, 11 o'clock. I can look that up and let you know. And in terms of the sound, we definitely have a, nothing above ambient level noise that would be allowed. And that's something else that would be controlled.
Has really increased their volume this
Right, okay. Well, that's something else that, definitely please bring it to our attention, because if we're not aware, or if the town is not aware, or the police department, then definitely bring it to our attention and we'll address it. That could be addressed as part of the entertainment license and other parameters that we have in place to address noise levels.
Marzie,
Mary Ellen?
if the hotel is looking to have entertainment upstairs, they have to apply for an entertainment license. Just because they are a hotel doesn't mean they automatically get to have entertainment in different areas of the hotel, especially on the roof. So there are going to be different mechanisms and vehicles in place for the community to come forward and to express how they feel about any type of noise. And the second comment that you made about Mission, Mission is they have a very specific permit, and you should not be hearing their music in your area whatsoever. It should just be within their area, and it should be ambient noise just on the outside by the curb. So if you are experiencing an issue, they've been really good. They lower things, or they get compliant right away, but you should immediately call the police or call Marzie or call anybody. But that, for you to be hearing it is you shouldn't be hearing it. Okay?
Do we have any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Jim.
What I was wondering is, are you renting from the town, or do you own this property?
It's a
Because
lease.
the property is a mess. It's really bad. The weeds are all growing along the chain link fence, and there was a lot of graffiti on the wall, and I bought some spray paint, and I fixed the graffiti. So I don't want that to happen. It kind of is a blight right now, and I don't know if you're going to clean it up before the winter.
So, Jean, that's on us, that's on the town, and we will work together.
I hate to throw it to Gina.
No, you don't. But Jeannie.
Did you catch my ball?
I sure did.
Good.
No, Jeannie, we were out there last week. I believe we took care of a lot of the weeds along the fence. I can't believe they're growing that fast, but I'll send a crew out there this week to address them again.
Did you see my spray paint with the graffiti? I tried to match the white and the brick. I bought brick spray paint, and I don't want graffiti in my neighborhood.
Yeah, but I'm guessing you
You know,
probably
maybe you
shouldn't have
think
painted the
it's
building.
funny, but I wouldn't want graffiti on my house. I wouldn't want graffiti on our brand-new high school.
And you probably don't want people spray painting your house either, though, right?
No, I don't think the hotel will.
So just give the DPW a call, and we'll take care of the graffiti for you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Amara, go ahead.
Just a couple other things.
Jean, can you just pass the mic to Mara, if you don't mind?
Stereo.
So just real quick, Dixon, can you just talk about, I think Doug brought up a solar plan potentially that I think people should hear about on the annex. And then if you could just explain a little bit and go back, tick back, one of the strangest things about the two buildings was that they, the floors never, didn't align with one another. How are you solving that with the, with the creation of the building in between? And
Yes.
And I have to say, I love Laurie's interior designer approach to kind of making that building in between really be unique.
Yeah, having the elevator tower was really the only way to solve for that, because you're right, they're not level. And we thought about just having floors that go straight across, but that didn't work. Doesn't work. So.
It's what I...
Yeah.
So does that mean the elevator's going to have 5 stops?
Yes.
6 or whatever? Okay.
Or 6 maybe with the basement.
I think it's...
Back door, front door, back door, front door.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of little stops. Yeah.
Oh, so it might have half stops.
Yeah, it's odd.
So it's gonna be,
there was a lot of thought that was put into, and that's why each of these has 2 doors. They open on both sides.
Yes.
So it was the only really way to solve it.
And then solar, will there be solar? Are you kind of committed to that, and would it be on the annex as part of those the mechanicals there?
Yeah, that's where we're certainly contemplating having the mechanicals and solar panels on the roof of the annex.
So yes, you're thinking solar is going to land there? Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? And if not, I'm happy to, first of all, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. If you have any further questions, please send them, email them to us. The next step would be to bring this back up to the select board. The select board really wanted to hear from the residents, wanted to hear your comments and feedback in regards to the renderings that we have had. I believe that this will be taken up at the November select board meeting, that you will probably see the part of the presentation, or at least hear the recap of the notes that we have taken today, and we will share it with the select board. At that point, the select board will have the opportunity to approve or provide feedback to the developer or approve the existing plans. And then after that, we will have additional public meetings to kind of share the next steps when the plans are finalized. So at this point, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and definitely.
Any questions?